Good evening, Shen. Thank you for joining us. Good to see you online. Maybe to start off our conversation, it would be good if you give us a quick introduction of yourself for the people who don't know you yet.
My name is Shen. I'm a Chinese artist. I'm from Shanghai, and I'm now based in New York City.
Okay, great. And most people, or you're generally known as a photographer. Tonight, we said we would talk about a series you've made called Invisible Atlas, which, although based on photography, they're all unique works. Could you maybe start with an introduction of the series?
Invisible Atlas is a project I started around 2013, and it's a mixed media series that's combined photography and I would say minimalistic drawing elements. The project is inspired by the Chinese philosophy of qi. Qi means energy, so it is an unseen life force and a sort of a method of healing.
And chi, is this something that you've grown up with? Is it something that your parents kind of passed on, or is it present in a different way?
Grew up in China, the ideology of qi is really everywhere. The Chinese medicine, for instance, its principal concept is to balance the qi, the energy in our body, and also in architecture and environment. There's the idea of feng shui. This is also an ancient practice, ancient Chinese practice to ensure an harmonious energy floating in our environment.
Because if I look at this series and I look at all of your other series that you've put out there, I noticed the self portraits is a recurring theme. You've used a number of these as well in the Invisible Atlas series. How does that relate to this idea of chi and energy within you?
This project, it's really a uh, personal interpretation of qi. You know, it's not a scientific portray. It's really my personal artistic way to look at a qi, to visualize qi. So because this is a personal work, and I sort of living through this qi concept, and I thought I would like to including some of my self portraits in I like to utilize my own form and also maybe my own personality in this work. And also self portrait is really one of my continuous theme. You know,
Sure.
in almost all my project, I have either a whole series of self portraits, and I also have self portraits always somehow intertwined with other projects. So this is kind of a continuous um, um, theme for me to put myself, including myself, into every stage of my creativity.
In this series, one of the most striking, I guess it's a series of self portraits, is the work. It's called Honey, where we see the same image recurring 5 times, and each time covered in a red substance in different graduations. Could you maybe tell us something about that work? Could you highlight that?
I have this self portrait I really like, and it's a blurry self portrait of me standing, looking back, and I wanted to add some element onto this portrait. So I start with just putting one drop of paint and just let it flow, let it drip basically naturally. So, and then I did quite a lot. I did 30, 40 pieces and they all drip in a different way. Then I also started painting on the drip. So this whole idea of dripping paint is it's just this organic energy. How every time I drip in a paint on the same image, it always obviously come out differently. So at that moment, the energy flows differently, and then I try to sort of disturbing that energy with my own brushstroke. It's like a feng shui. The idea of feng shui is you manipulate the energy. You change the energy and let it flow more smoothly. So this is the same concept, is that same image repeatedly, and you have the dripping paint come, go from different direction, and also with my own brushstroke included in it. At the end, I pick up 5 pieces and just to give a sequence of to see how almost like this movement, from one drip to the whole body of paint.
It's this movement that really fascinates me, because if you compare that to one of my personal favorites, the Sarancut sunrise, the diptych, your application to the photograph is a very different play with this energy. It's much less, I guess, organic in that sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, Sarancut is a different kind of response to energy, because this is the energy not within our body. This is energy in the environment, is particularly in that picture it's a picture of the Himalayas, and the photo shot right standing in front of the Himalayas. So you can imagine, that sense of power. I was completely captured by the sense of power from this enormous, subject.
Sure.
So that kind of energy is so different than dripping little paint on my own body. I think the way I portray that picture is more delicate in a way. I strictly decide, what I want to represent, the energy I initially felt when I'm standing in front of this huge mountain. And so these dots are very carefully placed. Even the color. This process is very instinct. It's by instinct, the where, how, what color. Within the project, you also see there's you will see also mythological subjects. People, figures from Greek ancient mythological stories. And I think that this whole series is very much also inspired by my memory as well. Growing up in China at the time, is still a very secluded environment, and I have this urge and this crave to understand what's more, what I did not know. And then somehow mythological stories is becoming something I'm fascinated about throughout this project. And this is probably the only project for me that I can somehow play around with this mythological figures, because this is a more not a straight photography kind of a project, and I will be able to digitally, combine things together, and also adding on drawing elements to make that fantasized world happen.
And did that process, because maybe that's a really nice bridge to my final question. After people watch this video, they can also have a look at one of the videos you've made. It's called The Dusk of the Harmonious Garden. Is that process which you used for the Sarancut work kind of similar?
Yes, and I think the video, the Dusk of the Harmonious Garden, is made it around the same time as I was using dots a lot, color dots a lot. And that video was shot in the Summer Palace in Beijing, one of my favorite imperial garden. As you can imagine, an imperial garden an ancient imperial garden in China is very much designed to enhance that qi, that energy in that space. So, and I think you definitely can feel that, because every time I go to the garden, I just feel this peaceful energy there. And so I went there and I shot during the sunset. But I quite liked it because this is kind of a sunset without the sun in Beijing. It's a very gloomy day and it's cloudy, so it's a dusk hour, but you don't really see the sunset, but you see kind of vaguely the light dims down gradually. So to add more imagination, again, this project is my visual imagination of how qi represents in our environment, and I add on all these fantasies, all these imaginations, how the sun, the moon, the movement of the sun and the moon, the interchange of them, and you see maybe a slightly change of weather in the middle of it. And so this is, and the end, it's back to normal, where you hear the real kind of the Chinese opera practice in the corner of the garden. So it kind of in and out this reality and a fantasy world, and it's a very kind of a long, slow, and a meditative piece, and it's very much, for me, it's very Zen piece to look at.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's very Zen piece to even make it. To be honest, it's very just slow. This slow, meditative process.
For now, I want to thank you for answering some of our questions. Always great to talk to you, and we hope to see you soon in the Netherlands again.
Yeah, sure. I would definitely love to.
Thanks a lot. Yeah. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.